Hi guys, Anthony Ross here. I plan on doing these videos about once a week, but I saw an opportunity I thought was really important to have a quick chat about, and that was the match where Osaka lost to Bencic last week in Madrid. And I saw the quotes, Osaka's interview after the match, and she led 5-3, 40-15 in the third, and she talked about how at that time she started thinking about when she lost to Bencic last time in Indian Wells, and also how she was thinking a lot about knowing if she won the match she would be able to stay number one, so thinking about the potential outcome of the match. And I guess the traditional advice here would be to say to Osaka, she should be thinking less about these difficult outcome thoughts that were popping into her head at that time. But the key reflection, I think, is to think about how realistic is this. You have here the number one player in the world. She's won the last 2 slams. And I kind of think, if she is having such difficult thoughts about the past and the future in those situations, how helpful is it to advise players, or if we are players, to think about that we should have this super control of what thoughts and feelings show up during competition. And I would argue really strongly that because we have this brain that has evolved to really anticipate future outcomes based on what's happened in the past as a survival mechanism, then rather than expecting that we should be able to control our thoughts and feelings, these unintentional thoughts and feelings that continually show up throughout matches, to stop them from showing up. The key here is that it's much more helpful to work at the skill of simply responding better to those difficult thoughts and feelings. So it really is the player who's best skilled at responding well to the really difficult thoughts and feelings that are continually showing up in matches. They are the player that will do the best over the time. It's not the player who has this super ability to stop having difficult thoughts and feelings to do with the outcome. And that, I think, is, for me, it's the most important skill, whether it be physical, technical, tactical, in this case mental, that a player can develop, that it will be the most effective thing a player can spend their time on. An analogy I like to use here, which is really helpful, is you think about us as players like a bus driver, and as we drive, we pick up passengers along the way. And these passengers might be difficult, or they might be helpful sometimes. And to think about these passengers like these unintentional thoughts and feelings that show up as we compete. And as I said before, the traditional advice here is to try to stop perhaps having these passengers come on the bus, or when they come on the bus, to try to control them, to try to be able to get rid of them. But unfortunately, that use of our energy and effort is not really effective, because we're just not really good at being able to get rid of these thoughts and feelings. It's part of competition. And the more we do it, the more problems it tends to cause. So instead, what we want to do is simply learn to increase our ability to respond well to those difficult thoughts and feelings. In Osaka's case, when she was playing Bencic, and this time she got caught up, she started listening to these passengers, and she started driving the bus based on those passengers, and she only won a couple of points in the last 4 games. But what we want is the ability to respond better, to learn how to notice and be more accepting of these difficult thoughts and feelings as they show up, and to drive our bus better, to be able to place our attention on helpful things, to help us take the actions we need even while we've got these difficult passengers on the bus. Because, as I've said, that's the reality of competing in tennis. That is our experience. Most of the time we are going to be having difficult thoughts and feelings show up, or if we're feeling great now, surely in the next couple of points we're going to have difficult thoughts show up. So I'm Anthony Ross. Hopefully you find these ideas helpful. I think it's a really great thing to chat about, given the example of Osaka. If I'll put up a link on this page where you guys can get a more extensive video of the bus story, and also the activity that I use most commonly, using this bus analogy to help players learn to respond better to the difficult passengers. So hopefully you find this helpful, and have a great rest of the week. Cheers.